Welcome back to Rising. Lindsey, I believe you have a lens. What's in it?
I do have a lens today. So 5 years later, January 6th is no longer just a day in our history. It's a test of whether we're willing to tell the truth, even when the truth is uncomfortable, especially when it's inconvenient. So this week, the White House marked the anniversary by launching an official webpage that flips reality on its head. It accuses former Vice President Mike Pence of, quote, cowardice and sabotage, and insists the 2020 election was stolen and claims Trump supporters were peaceful. That framing isn't just revisionist, it's deliberate. Let's be clear about what's happening here. Upon returning to office, President Trump pardoned and commuted hundreds of January 6 defendants. He calls them, quote, patriots and hostages on the site. Others remember them as violent insurrectionists who breached the U.S. Capitol. Both things cannot be true. The page itself is telling. It's topped with large images of former House Speaker Nancy Pelosi and members of the January 6th Select Committee, and claims Democrats, quote, staged the real insurrection by certifying a fraud-ridden election. Now, election officials have obviously maintained a lack of evidence over this alleged widespread voter fraud. But it goes further, blaming the United States Capitol Police for what unfolded that day, accusing officers of, quote, deliberately escalating tensions and turning a, quote, peaceful demonstration into chaos. It's really important to remember some 140 officers were injured in the riot that caused extensive damage to the Capitol building. Officer Brian Sicknick was assaulted by rioters, suffered strokes, and died the day after the attack, per USCP. 4 others later died by suicide. But the White House claims, that same website claims, that no law enforcement officers lost their lives. The suicide highlighted the severe emotional and psychological trauma that law enforcement officers experienced during and after the riot. The death of Officer Jeffrey Smith, in particular, was officially ruled a line of duty death by the District of Columbia's Retirement Board, as a head injury he sustained during the riot was deemed the, quote, sole and direct cause of his death. This is not a disagreement over politics. This is a disagreement over facts. The White House also took direct aim at Mike Pence for refusing to overturn the election results. Meanwhile, the president continues to respond in a petty fashion. In a lengthy, meandering speech to House Republicans, he falsely claimed the January 6th Select Committee and the media never reported his call for supporters to act peacefully.
Do you know that the Unselect Committee didn't report it, that I said those words? Do you know that the news never reported the words walk or march peacefully and patriotically to the Capitol? Do you know they never reported it? It's a scandal.
That's not true. They did. And they also mentioned that he used the word fight or fighting more than 20 times, including telling the crowd to fight like hell. In the years since the Capitol breach, some Republicans who once condemned the attack have softened their language. But here's the thing. They know what they saw. They know what happened. History doesn't need spin. It needs honesty. And after 5 years later, wrong is still wrong.
I agree that history needs honesty, and we should correct and call out people who spread lies about what happened on that day. I'm going to do that now. Hillary Clinton tweeted this on January 6th of this year, the other day. 5 years ago today, Donald Trump urged his supporters to attack Congress and the Capitol over a proven lie. Donald Trump did not urge his supporters to attack anyone. He told them to march. He used evocative language, and then there was a riot. You can hold him morally responsible for what happened. You can say it's his fault in some sort of psychological sense. That's fine. I hold him to blame as well. He did not urge his supporters to attack the Capitol. He did not instruct them to do so. What happened at the Capitol was a spontaneous riot. The crowd was inflamed. Again, you can say that his actions were wrong, and certainly it was based on a lie about the winner of the election, and I have called that out. And I think the impeachment proceedings were the correct way, not a criminal trial, but the impeachment was the right way to deal with it. But he did not, the people who stormed this building, who broke the windows, who fought with the police, who defaced public property are responsible for their own actions, and it was correct to bring them to justice. And I wouldn't have pardoned anyone who engaged in any sort of violent crime, or I guess I might have commuted them. I'm a criminal justice reformer. I don't think people need to languish in prison if they're not a threat to their community, but I certainly would have brought charges. But it is not correct to say, as Hillary Clinton did, well, he urged them to attack. That's a lie as well.
Hillary Clinton ran for president, didn't win, and Hillary Clinton is currently not holding a public government office. President Trump is, and his administration decided. No, I accept that she's overstating and using overstating language. I accept that. But I'm also asking you to look at what our president put up on January 6th. He called Mike Pence a coward. He said no police officers died. His website is full of inaccuracies. He says the election was stolen. This is the president of our country that knows that a lot of people that saw him pardon all the January 6th criminals are inflamed by what he continues to say. And he's posting things that are just untrue on a government website 5 years later, still starting nonsense when he knows that this is inaccurate. You can't really believe that he thinks that the election was still stolen.
I absolutely think.
Okay, well, I think that's ridiculous, and
I think it's incorrect, but I think he believes it.
Okay, but it's just the facts. Don't facts matter? This is incorrect information over our government websites. It's like he has to be held to some kind of
every
standard.
person who lose the election. John Kerry thought he won
Every
the
person
election.
doesn't do
Hillary
this.
Clinton thought she'd won the election in 2016.
And imagine
she said it was a stolen election because of Russian malfeasance and Trump was an illegitimate president.
Now imagine if she won a couple years later and then put up a website saying, I really won. Like, no, this is not accurate.
Clinton went on TV interview after interview, said, it was illegitimate. Russia, he cheated, that whole thing. No one treated this like it was a crime. It was just par for the course until Donald Trump's behavior. Then him persisting in thinking he had actually won was some kind of grand criminal conspiracy.
And people that align with his thought process then committed criminal acts. And so he should be able to, yes, and he pardoned all of them. So he should be able to separate the two and say, you know what, this wasn't correct. I shouldn't have pardoned those people. But even still, I'm not going to exacerbate this whole thing and keep posting lies on the government website so that those same people that were inflamed could keep feeling like justice was denied to them because the election was stolen. Like, this is silly. This is nonsensical.
Government websites are always full of lies because they're government websites.
And so you're putting no onus of responsibility on the administration.
I'm not putting no.
And also, I would say,
I think I've been very clear that I put tremendous responsibility on Donald Trump for what happened on that day. What happened on that day was very bad. It was very embarrassing for our nation. The people who did those things behaved reprehensibly. I was there. I witnessed it. I saw it happen in real time. I was horrified by the destruction of public property, just as I was horrified when the Black Lives Matter people came to D.C. and smashed every window in town and threatened people and fought with the police officers in exactly the same way. It was exactly the same thing. It was people acting out at the conclusion of a very, very awful year. The pandemic, the protests, everything. I'm not saying this to excuse any of their behavior. People lost their freaking minds in real time. I watched it over and over and over again. They should have been held accountable. That's not an excuse for anyone. They were held accountable. And again, I would not have signed a pardon and make it so like it had never happened for any of those people. Some of those people did get much more egregiously long sentences than I thought were warranted. Enrique Tarrio, leader of the Proud Boys, was sentenced in accordance with having essentially planned a terrorist event. He wasn't even at the riot, which again I say is spontaneous. There was no plan to attack the Capitol. It just happened. The idea that he had organized well in advance some terrorist plot to occupy the government is ridiculous, but he got like 20 years. He wasn't even there. That I would have absolutely commuted that sentence. I wouldn't have pardoned him, but I would have commuted the sentence. I found that ridiculous.
Well, the worst case scenario is that we're now celebrating these people on the government website and calling them heroes, calling them patriots, but also condescending and belittling. This is what, and belittling the former vice president of our country, as well as trying to downplay the fact that people lost their lives that day.
That is shameful.
Public
Mike
property
Pence did the right thing, and yes, it is shameful to pretend otherwise.
I just want better for
it is shameful to pretend that they were heroes. They were duped into throwing away their freedom for the stupidest cause ever. Absolutely, I have no disagreement there. But it was part and parcel with a lot of bad behavior that continued in this city for that year. Next up, the Trump administration is pulling more than $10 billion in funding from Democratic-led states. We'll tell you why. Stay with us.